Namaste. I'm making a series on karmic relationships and how they affect the people who are undergoing a spiritual awakening or a Kundalini awakening. This is the third part in the series. In case you have not watched the first two parts, I'll post the links to those videos in the description box below. Please watch them before you watch this video. The objective of this video is to understand and identify the kinds of behaviors that are typically displayed by problem people. How do we identify these people beforehand? And how do we deal with these people? And how do we understand what happens within their mind when they are dealing with others? Our true nature is love and bliss. The enlightened beings, the saints, the philosophers, they are in touch with their true essence. They experience love and bliss as part of their daily life. They have love for everything, every creature, everything, every person, every situation that they have in their lives. Just love and love. On the other end of the spectrum, you have people who live from fear, who do not trust life or the situations or the people or the world around them. Their approach towards life and the way they see life and others is unhealthy, because of which they become high conflict people. They are emotionally unstable and they create problems for themselves and others around them. These are the people who have the personality disorders. These people are generally present in our lives and they create a lot of problem situations for us in our life. Their view of the external world is limited to their motives, to their selfishness, to their fears, to their trust issues, and to their control issues. And they see the external world and another person as a means to serve their own selfish needs and objectives. They have no remorse, they have no guilt, they don't have a sense of shame, and they do not experience higher emotions like love, gratitude, devotion, bliss. All these things are beyond their understanding. They generally operate from the lower three chakras where there's a lot of fear, jealousy, anger, desires. All these things are stored there and they operate from those chakras. General view of the external world is from those three chakras. You can call them new souls, souls which have evolved from the animal form and they've still not learned the higher human emotions. And so these emotions are beyond their understanding. I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and this video is not meant to be diagnostic in nature. The content I have produced in this video is based on my own experiences and observations when I've interacted with these people. Apart from this, I had the advantage of being part of a forum where such personality disorders were discussed by many victims who have undergone a lot of trauma in the hands of these people who had personality disorders. The differences that I see between various personality disorders, that is, the narcissistic personality disorder, the sociopathic personality disorder, and the psychopathic personality disorder, is the degree of fear these people experience, how well they can cover up their true nature, how far can they go to control the external situation. All these things, they produce a variety of behaviors which are basically unhealthy in nature. The worst of all being the psychopathic personality disorder. Then, to a lesser degree, it is a sociopathic personality disorder. And then, to a little lesser degree, is a narcissistic personality disorder. Many of us have to deal with the narcissistic personality disorder people in our lives. They can be present in our lives in the form of our parents, a spouse, in our relationships as friends, children, our colleagues, and they make life hell for a normal person. So today I'd like to discuss predominantly the narcissistic personality disorder and how it affects us. The narcissistic person wants to control the people in his life. They never disclose their motives, but their motives are to serve themselves at the cost of others. They are totally unreliable people. They have no ethics or morals. The sociopathic people too share these traits, but the difference between narcissists and sociopaths is a degree of fear is higher in sociopaths. The sociopathic people have experienced a certain amount of emotional trauma, or they have been shamed during their childhood days. And this trauma or this shame has caused them to retreat into a shell. They see the external world as bad, people as being bad. They do not want to interact with anybody. But they can make life difficult for people at home. And they can even resort to mental and physical abuse. But the difference between narcissist and sociopath or a psychopath is the sociopathic people, they're very open about their cruelty. People know that they're cruel. Their neighbors know they're cruel. They don't mind showing their bad side to the world, whether you like it or not. But the narcissistic people try to cover up their bad behavior in public because they want a good image out there. Whereas a sociopathic person is not bothered about that. The difference between a sociopathic person and psychopathic person is the sociopathic person is very open about his bad nature. But a psychopathic person can very intelligently cover up this side of him. Because of which a psychopathic person can have a normal, happy family life. Whereas a sociopathic person cannot live a normal life. They find life difficult and they find it difficult to form bonds with people. Sociopathic people, they can harm others out of impulse, not that they sit down and plan for it. Whereas a psychopathic person can plan to murder somebody way ahead. Maybe he has a plan to kill one of his friends and he's drawn that plan 1 year before the actual event will happen. So they're very scheming and they can even kill a person on impulse and for the sense of gratification, and they even derive pleasure from doing such deeds. And that is why many criminals which you see, hardcore criminals that you see in prisons, are psychopathic in nature. They generally get caught up in some of these criminal activities and they're jailed. Whereas a narcissistic person, most of them, they live with normal people and they make life hell for normal people. Genetically, too, these personality disorders can be transferred from the parents to the children. If either and both of the parents are narcissistic or if they have any other kinds of disorders, the chances of the offsprings getting these disorders is higher, especially the male offspring. Because of the genetic makeup, the chances of the son getting these disorders is higher than the daughter. And in the narcissists or the other disorders too, the population of men is higher to women. Generally, in the population of narcissists, 80% of them are men and 20% of them are women. When a higher order soul is born to a narcissistic parent, generally what happens is the genes that are responsible for this narcissistic behavior are switched off. And the higher soul does not display any characteristics of this narcissistic behaviors or tendencies in them. Rather, when they go onto the spiritual path, they are able to heal their DNA. And once they do that, all these disorders fall away from their DNA and they're not transmitted to the next generation from there. So a person who has a narcissistic personality disorder can even have a child who is very highly spiritually evolved, and the child is born in that family to heal that family. If a lower order soul is born in that family, then the DNA that is responsible for narcissism gets activated, and the son displays the narcissistic qualities. So the kind of soul that is being born, whether it is higher in vibration or lower in vibration, they also have an influence whether this genetic material is activated within them or not. Here I'm attempting to talk about the various narcissistic behaviors that I have observed. When you observe a person over 3 to 4 interactions, if you can identify certain behaviors that are mentioned here in that person, it is better to keep that person out of your life and study that person before you even allow that person into your life in the future. The very first uh, characteristic that I've seen in people who have behavioral disorders are they're delusional, in the sense that they think that they're superior to others. They feel more entitled, that they feel that others should put them on a high pedestal, and because they're very special in nature, and they look down upon others, though they may not display this behavior very openly, but they still have this behavior inside them, and it gets expressed in certain uh, way they behave or in the body language. It comes out when you deal with them. So the first sign you will see is that they have an inflated ego. Second important trait I have seen is envy. They are envious about everything. They can be envious about anything. They can be envious about a person whom they are not connected to in any way. For example, if there's a film star, a celebrity who has worked his way, has become very famous today, these people are capable of envying that person too, and they spread hatred, they talk in spite of that person. So the very common trait that these people display is severe envy. Then they have no sense of right or wrong, or no morals or ethics. If something benefits them, then it is right. If something is morally right but it does not benefit them, then it is wrong. They have one rule for themselves and another rule for another person. If they do something bad to others, it is their smartness. But if somebody does them wrong, then the other person is a very bad person. So the way of looking at life is different. They are basically takers. They come into your life to take from you. They take your time, your efforts, your money. They take your goodness. And when they cannot take anything from you, they will dump you. So they generally have motives. They will never form a relationship when there is nothing that they can achieve out of it. In the very first few interactions, these people ask you a lot of personal information. A lot of personal information about your personal life, your love life, your finances, whom you know, uh, what contacts you have, what is your status, who is your family. They get down to details because they want to see how they can benefit from having you in their life, whether they can use you in any particular way. Or if they get hold of some information which is against you, then they can use that information to blackmail you or to shame you in public. They're very manipulative. The first time you meet them, they can praise you. They can praise you to the skies. And they do this because they want to form a very positive initial impression. It is only when they form a very positive impression you will start trusting them and you will start divulging information to them. And it is only when you divulge or open up to them they can use that information for their own benefit or use it against you. The other quality you will see is that they do not take any responsibility for their faults. It is always somebody else's mistake. And they do not respect boundaries. They will not give you your personal space. Especially women come into this category where they are very clingy in nature. When you have a lady friend, she may not want you to interact with others. She is always clinging onto you. She is always calling you. She wants to know where you are, with whom you are, and she feels that you should not connect with somebody else other than her. So they're very clingy. They don't respect your boundaries or your personal space. They always invade your personal space. When people who have these disorders as children, they understand that their behavior is a little different from others around them. They do not understand emotions like happiness, kindness. When they see people laughing and enjoying themselves, it feels alien to them. They cannot understand what gratitude is, what devotion is, what surrender is, what acceptance is. Because they do not understand these behaviors or they do not feel it from inside, they learn to mimic it so that they are not out of place in a particular situation. So when they see their friend expressing gratitude towards something, they mimic his behavior. They do the same thing and they learn to talk like this in the society. They come out as a normal person until and unless you scratch the surface. When a person falls in love with a narcissist and gets married to the person, after marriage, they are shocked to see that this person is a totally different person from the person with whom they fell in love with. A narcissist does not love, he can mimic love. He can give you the feeling that he is in love with you. And he can put up an act when you're meeting him outside. Maybe you're spending some time with him, you're dating him. So, for those few hours, he can put up an act of loving you on a regular basis. But after marriage, he cannot act throughout the day. The mask falls away. He's tired of acting. So his true colors, his true face comes out. And that is when it leaves the other partner confused. They thought that this person loved them, but the behavior is totally different now. The behavior is more abusive, and they don't feel that same affection and love coming from their partner. And this confuses the person who is married to a narcissistic partner. You have to understand here that the narcissist is capable of mimicking many different types of positive behaviors. And he puts up this act with people outside. But once he starts living with a person, he cannot act throughout the day. He gets tired. So his true face gets revealed. Generally, narcissists have one face for the external world where they deal with for shorter periods of time, and they have their true face for the person with whom he's spending most of his time. That face is lying, manipulative, cruel, abusive, and very selfish. In the first few interactions, if you are able to identify such behaviors like plenty of envy and inflated ego, asking of too many personal questions, not taking responsibility or not able to respect your boundaries, and initially they start asking you for favors without understanding how it might affect you, or if they're trying to take advantage of your position or money, then please understand that you're dealing with a narcissist. Apart from this, the narcissist has a lot of trust and control issues. When they get power, they misuse power. And many narcissists are attracted to power based jobs. They put a lot of effort to get into a power-based job so they can just abuse and use people. In very stressful situations, you will see a sociopath or a psychopath or a narcissist being calm because these people do not feel anxiety like a normal person feels. That is because they have a careless attitude. They lie, they cheat, they betray, and they play the victim card when they are caught doing something wrong. They will tell you how bad life was for them. They justify their bad actions because they have been troubled by life. They'll tell you plenty of sad stories where they were victims. They tell you plenty of sad stories as to how life or people were bad to them and how much trouble they faced in their growing years or in their struggling years. But they don't have any empathy for others who are being troubled by them. They have no guilt, no remorse, no shame. These people are basically more materialistic in nature. That is, they do not value or understand higher emotions like pure love, devotion. They don't understand this. And they're more focused on material wealth. They like power, they like fame, they like success, they like material wealth. They like the freedom that comes from material wealth and they misuse this freedom. Whatever is given to them, they only misuse it. Apart from this, they can easily fall into a lot of addictions. Generally, when you ask a narcissist, what do you see when you close your eyes? They will see darkness. They see darkness because they have no light inside them. And they understand this very well. They feel empty from inside. They feel empty from inside and they know they're not able to contribute anything valuable towards the person or towards the society at large. They understand this and that makes them feel even more empty from inside. To cover up this emptiness and so that they don't have to face their emptiness, they try to indulge into a lot of external pleasures. They have a lot of addictions in their life. Addictions help them from having to look within and see the darkness which is there within themselves. They are unnecessarily competitive, even with their own family members. A narcissist, if he is a father and if he sees his son happily playing and laughing, he is so envious of his son's happiness that he might get up by impulse and beat his son. That is because he does not understand the happiness and the laughter the son is experiencing. So, when you're around a narcissist, don't try to express a lot of happiness because when they see that, the first reaction is to crush your happiness. All the relationships are need based. It is only when you can provide them some kind of value or some kind of a supply you are there in their life. Otherwise, they will discard you. A narcissist uses fear, religion, shame, guilt, and manipulation to control a person. Many a times you will notice that there is a discord between the situation and the body language expressed by a narcissist. A narcissist can happily laugh when he is devaluing a person, when he thinks that you're on his side. Or you can see a narcissist secretly rejoicing at somebody else's sorrow. So when a narcissist is not mimicking in that moment, in certain situations the mask falls off and the narcissist is not aware. In such situations, you can see the disparity in the situation and the kind of body language a narcissist exhibits in that situation. They can laugh and rejoice at somebody else's misery, especially when they have some kind of an vindictive attitude towards that person. A narcissist is by nature very vindictive and they take revenge. They can publicly run a smear campaign against a person. they hate a person, they will do anything to pull down that person or to damage that person. And the most easiest way of doing that is to publicly shame that person, to spread rumors and gossips around that person, creating hatred for that person, damaging reputation of that person, and turning everybody against that person. They can create a lot of drama in life, unnecessary drama. They can set up a scenario where people can fight and quarrel over trivial things. They're very argumentative. They can even fight over how many birds are flying in the sky, even in general small conversations. They will devalue you at every point, and in every situation, they want to come out as the winner. They create win lose situations for others. They trigger people unnecessarily. They feel they are superior and they are constantly fishing for compliments. They need to be admired and they're jealous of people who they see as competition. When a narcissist is dealing with somebody whom they don't need or whom they see as lesser in status, their mask falls off. For a moment, they get exposed because they do not treat them properly. Narcissists can be extremely lazy, can be very greedy, they are very impulsive. So they're impulsive in their decisions, in their relationships, especially financial habits. They can lose a fortune in one day in gambling. They can beat up a person to such an extent that the relation goes beyond repair. They need to look good in that particular moment. It is all about being good or winning in that particular moment. Instant gratification. They cannot postpone gratification. For example, if you told a narcissist, I will give you $100 now, but if you are ready to wait for 6 months, I will not give you this $100 now. I'll give you $500 after 6 months. The narcissist will prefer the immediate $100. He cannot wait for 6 months for the $500. So they want instant gratification. They cannot plan, wait patiently, and then work towards achieving their goals because that will mean that they have to postpone gratification. So many people who have addictions, even eating disorders, they need instant gratification. They are highly attracted to the powerful people, rich people, successful people, and they are worried about what others think about them. What is the general public image? And when they know that the public image is not good, they can have these emotional outbursts. They cannot handle constructive criticism. They can go into an emotional outburst when somebody does that. And these emotional outbursts happen whenever they don't feel secure or when they feel out of control. It is a normal thing, and there is a general drama that runs in their life, which makes life miserable for people around them. These people feel inadequate from inside, they feel empty from inside. And that emptiness also shows in the relationships. They live a very shallow life. They only see the world as good or bad. They cannot see the gray area. They don't understand that there's good mixed in bad and bad mixed in good. They have very high risk behaviors, especially financial and sexual behaviors. And their main target are the empathetic people, the kind people. They think that if there is a kind person who is their partner, then no matter how much they abuse this person, in return, the person will only be kind to them. So they always target good people or empathetic people, initially attract them by mimicking love for them, and once they get married to them, they confuse them. They tell them that they love them, but then they are violent with them. They confuse this person, and they even blame that person for the problems in marriage, and they even can go to the extent of telling the partner that they are mentally ill, and that is why there are issues in their marriage. In all their dealings, they take more than their fair share. They cheat, they exploit, they manipulate, they blackmail others, they use and abuse them. They're too greedy, and they don't care about the other person's interests in any deal or any agreement. The kind of qualities that I've described here may be present to some extent in each one of us. But in the narcissist, all these qualities are present to an extreme degree, where the person views the world only from his fears and from his selfish interests alone. So, if we have few of these qualities within us, it does not make us a narcissistic person. Maybe those areas are the areas which we need to work and improve and get better at, so that we can become a more empathetic person. The narcissists, on the other hand, have all these qualities to a higher degree, to such a degree that their behavior can cause a lot of harm to others. Selfishness is normal in a person, otherwise, we cannot even preserve our body. A little self preservation, a little selfishness to take care of ourselves and our interests is normal. And this does not cause harm to others. But when selfishness goes to such an extent where you can ruin others' lives for it, then it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem to another individual and to the society at large. So, narcissists display such behaviors which can damage another person's life. And that is why they need to be avoided, or they need to be handled properly and kept at a distance. There is a lot of difference between a highly emotionally evolved person and a narcissist. The highly emotionally evolved person has the advantage of many lifetimes. He has learned and evolved over many lifetimes, and now the soul can understand higher emotions. Whereas the narcissist is a fairly new soul with fewer incarnations, and life experiences have taught him little. A person evolves from the animal state into the human state. Even in the first few hundred incarnations, they carry that fear which an animal experienced, that need for territory, the need to struggle for survival. That fears are still there in a newer soul. And that is why they generally act out of impulse rather than from the higher level of thinking. That is the spiritual standpoint or the view given between the difference between a highly spiritually evolved person and a narcissistic person. Now, when you come to the brain structure of somebody who's highly evolved and somebody who's a psychopath, there are many differences, major differences. Especially when somebody has a Kundalini awakening or a spiritual awakening, the pranic force that is there in their body starts flowing up the spine. And once it starts moving into the higher regions and moves into the brain has many cortexes. So the prana starts flowing into the brain from all sides. And once this prana flows into all these brain centers, the brain centers start opening up. There is more activity in all these brain centers. Earlier, there was no activity in these centers. Now, there's a lot of activity that is happening in these centers. Nervous connections are happening. Information is being sent. The parietal lobe here, you can see in the next picture. Yeah, the second picture, the parietal lobe here, this area, it gets activated when the pranic force reaches a certain level in your brain. And once this area of the brain gets activated, the person reaches the state of enlightenment, or he comes into touch or experiences his true essence. He understands that he is a free soul, and he comes out of all the lower egoic qualities. In a spiritually evolved person, the prefrontal cortex, this area has a lot of gray matter. In general, the brain has a lot of gray matter, especially this area. And this area is necessary for empathy, for higher understanding, for gaining insights, wisdom, a lot of emotional regulation, how you deal with relationships in life, how you see life, how you deal with external situations. All these things come from here. It is higher level communication. And how well you can modulate fear. Everything comes from this area. And for a spiritually evolved person, this area is well developed and it has a lot of gray area. The first picture you see here is of the amygdala. This controls our fear responses and it is connected to the fight and flight mechanism. When somebody undertakes a lot of spiritual practices, the amygdala shrinks in that person. And the person does not view the external world through fear. There is more emotional stability in the person, more emotional maturity in the person. Moreover, when the prana enters the brain, it starts linking up the right brain and the left brain. And even before that, the brain size of the person increases. For me, this part has increased. My skull has increased in size. And the linking of the right and left brain brings about more emotional maturity, more higher learning, more spiritual insights for this person. And the general flight and fight mechanism in the body goes down. When somebody is displaying a lot of selfish behavior to the extent of being a psychopath, the way the brain works is different. If you look at the lower image on the right hand side of the brain, you can see three blue dots, the center dot being the ventral striatum. And the second image, you have the anterior cingulate cortex. So these are concerned with taking moral, ethical decisions and empathy. For these people, there is lesser activity in this area. And if you come to the third image, the third blue dot, that is the ventral prefrontal cortex. There is a link between ventral striatum and ventral prefrontal cortex. That link is not present properly in psychopaths. Because of that, it affects their social and moral decision making. They cannot learn from others. They lack empathy. They cannot understand the consequences of their actions. They are not able to make good choices in life. They're very short sighted. They need instant gratification. They can get into addictions because of all these combinations. Because of all these combinations, they can have various lifestyle disorders or addictions too, like substance abusing and compulsive eating. In psychopaths, the prefrontal cortex, that is this area, has less activity because they have less gray area in this place. Gray area is required in various parts of the brain for proper processing of information in the brain. If there's less gray area, the information that is received is not properly processed and the signals not reached various parts of the brain if the linkages between various parts of the brain is not properly established. The top picture, if you look at the limbic brain, when there is less gray matter in this area, there is less emotional regulation. People are more impulsive, less self control. They cannot set goals and achieve goals. They cannot delay gratification. They can only understand their own pain. They cannot understand somebody else's pain. When research was done on prison inmates who were psychopaths, they found that there was a combination of high levels of testosterone coupled with lower gray area and the prefrontal cortex. Because of this, they had a high tendency to be impulsive, and they could cause harm to others, and they were not aware of the consequences of their actions. There is a problem in the brain wiring itself. Now, the amygdala, it teaches us about the society, it teaches about boundaries, the rules that we're supposed to follow when we're in a society. It teaches about the various dangers and threats we will face. And in a person who has a behavioral disorder, the amygdala does not function properly. So their emotional response to fear is not healthy. And the limbic system that is connected with the amygdala, it regulates the emotions that are tied with memories. So when there is significant reduction in the gray area in the paralimbic system, it causes impairment in how they can recall memories. That is why when people who have behavioral disorders, they experience an event, and when they have to recall the event, there is a big variation in the actual event and how the brain stores and recalls that event. The actual event will be different, and the way they store that event in their head is different. In their memories, they become very important in that event, and everything else becomes less in importance. So the story which they tell you about their past is drastically different from what actually happened in their life. The first image from the left side, the hippocampus, which is around the ear. When the hippocampus has less gray area, and when this works along with the amygdala and the link is not proper, the hippocampus can bring about a lot of fearful memories to the surface or a lot of painful memories to the surface. The hippocampus is responsible as to how you behave and respond in a particular situation, and how you store that memory within your system, and what are the emotions that are attached with the memory. So when the connection between the amygdala and the hippocampus is not proper, uh, it can cause a lot of fearful memories to surface, a lot of painful memories to be highly remembered. And hippocampus can be linked to a lot of anxiety, depression, a lot of compulsive behaviors, high risk compulsive behaviors like gambling and sexual addictions. The hippocampus, it creates new neurons in the body. So when somebody is meditating, the fearful memories or the painful memories start going away, and the mind starts relaxing more. And because of that, new neurons grow, and it increases the gray area in the hippocampus region. Because of that, there is a reduction in the cortisol production, and a person has a positive outlook towards life. These new neurons, they help you to form new memories. They give you the ability to learn new information and come out of your painful and the sad memories that you hold. But for a psychopath, this link between the hippocampus and the amygdala is not properly functioning. Because of that, the fearful memories keep coming to surface. Because this concentration of the gray matter in the hippocampus area is less, their high cortisol levels or stress levels are high. Because of all these things, their general outlook towards the world is negative. They see everything as bad, everybody as bad. Because of this, they're not forming new neurons or new memories. They're not learning new information. They're just held up to their fears and to their pain. So the way the brain works in a normal person or a highly evolved person is very much different from the brain that is functioning with a person with a personality disorder. And the reason I'm telling you all this is to understand that uh, it does not, the functioning of the brain does not change in one lifetime. So if somebody thinks that this person has a disorder today and he can be cured and become enlightened being overnight, then it is not possible. Not overnight, even in one lifetime, it is not possible. Maybe one in a million chances are there, but otherwise, in general, these people will not change in one lifetime. We have understood the various types of behavioral disorders, the motives of these people, their nature, their fears, their trust issues, their control issues, how they use and abuse others, and they do not have your interest at the bottom of their heart. They have a very selfish view of the world and they will not change, at least in this lifetime. So, then how do we deal with them? The first thing is you have to set strong boundaries with them. Keep them at arm's length. Do not let them into your life. Do not share any kind of information with this person. Even if you have to stay under one roof with this person, keep your interaction with this person to the minimum. Do not sit and talk and discuss things with this person. This person can never be anybody's friend or well wisher. Do not smile or act happy in front of this person, because when you do that, they immediately attack you either verbally or say something very rude, or they can body shame you when you do that. And in certain extreme situations, they might even physically assault you. Do not share any of your happy events with them or any of your achievements with them, because it will only make them more envious and jealous. When a narcissist's motive gets exposed, he becomes weak. A narcissist fears his motives getting exposed. When you have exposed a narcissist in private, he will come up with sorry stories. He will initially not accept what you have said. He will say that you have misunderstood him, and then he'll come out with a lot of sorry stories to distract you. He will even distract you to the extent saying that he's seen a ghost outside your window or something even more shocking than that, so that your mind will go off from the main topic and you'll get diverted into the psych topic. And if the narcissist is publicly humiliated, he will take revenge. He will run a smear campaign against you. He will be very vindictive. He will damage you. He will never forget it all his life. He will do anything to get even with you. Do not fight with these people or argue with these people, because they need drama. And when you fight and argue with them, then they get even more emotional and there is more drama. Instead, speak assertively with them and ask them to support their claims with facts. As the narcissists generally try to lie, cheat, and manipulate or betray people. That is why when they tell you stories in different events, the stories do not match. For example, at one point in time, the person will tell you that his father was very wealthy and that they've been to the best school. Few months later, he'll forget his original story and then he will narrate a different story to you. He will tell you that they were so poor that their mother had to work extra duties to support the family. So narration keeps changing. And because most of the time they're lying, the narration does not match. So be careful to take their word. Generally, they are lying or manipulating you. So look for proofs. And they lie more when they are actually trying to hide the real truth. Narcissists, when they're seeking information, they only speak in form of questions. So when you see a person is constantly questioning you a lot, keep that person at arm's distance and set boundaries. Do not have any give and take with a narcissist, because when they give you something, there is always uh, something they want in return for it, or they might give you something to get the right to abuse you. So do not accept any gifts or do not accept anything from a narcissist, and do not give anything to a narcissist, because when you give something to a narcissist, there's always some drama involved, or he will expect more from you, or he will say that you did not give him enough, so the drama goes on. So when there is a give and take with narcissist, it creates unnecessary problems. So do not do that. Do not get into emotional bonding with a narcissist. If you are emotionally attached with them, then you will suffer more, because these people do not understand the value of emotions. They will constantly devalue you, and they will take advantage of your love for them. Healing from narcissistic abuse can become even more difficult when you are very emotionally attached to this person. And under any cost, a narcissist will never ever expose his motives. The narcissist's strength is his hidden agenda or motives. As long as you do not know them, you will love them and you want to keep that person in your life. You will put up with the drama because you think that this person loves you. But once the real motives or the real intention comes out, then the narcissist loses his upper hand. He loses the game. And once he gets exposed, his victim might walk out on him. He does not want that. So he will always give you the feeling that you're being loved. At the same time, he will abuse you. If a narcissist has to really confess that he has hidden agendas in a relationship, he will only do it in certain situations. The first situation is when the narcissist has his victim under his total control, no escape, and there are no long term problems in exposing his agenda. That is, he will not be punished, and the victim cannot seek help from an external agency. In such a scenario, to pipe up the fear factor, the narcissist will talk about his evil intentions and show his evil side to his victim. The second situation where a narcissist will confess his hidden agenda is, say he is on the deathbed and he is religious in nature. Then, if somebody tells him that if he does not confess, he'll go to hell, whereas if he confesses, he will seek the forgiveness from the person, then he will go to heaven. In such a scenario, the narcissist will seek forgiveness from the victim, will tell the victim that he never loved the victim, and all he did and all he wanted to do was to abuse the victim. And he enjoyed doing this, because generally when narcissists they abuse somebody, dopamine gets released in their body and they enjoy the fact that they are abusing others. And this person will seek forgiveness from the victim so that he can go to heaven. Because he is not living any further, he does not have to face public shame or ridicule. The third situation in which a narcissist might expose his hidden agenda is if he is in a community where there are other psychopaths or narcissists who are talking about their own evil deeds. And when somebody is clapping you for your evil deeds and there's a competition as to who has done the most number of evil deeds, in such a scenario, the narcissist will come out and talk about his evil deeds because he will get applause for it, he will be appreciated for it. Otherwise, generally, a narcissist fears the exposing of his motives. He fears public shame. That is why he will never ever expose his hidden agenda or motives to his victim. Even if you stay under one roof with that person all your life and you think that this person is my person, this person loves me, the narcissist will never ever tell you that his hidden agenda is to abuse you and is to take pleasure out of abusing you. A narcissist will not change, keep that in mind when you want to form relationships with these people. do not have these dreamy kind of expectations that that you can change this person, something will change this person, or maybe life will change this person. It will not happen. And when the narcissist is abusing you, please talk about it. When you do not talk about it, you are actually strengthening the narcissist. The narcissist generally wants to maintain a good image for the external society, and in private, he will abuse people who are dependent on him. So, chances of him abusing his wife and children is much higher. So, when the wife comes out and talks about it openly, it can check the narcissist's behavior to some extent. Not hesitate to take legal action, and keep your expectations from them to the minimum, because they are not authentic people. They have a lot of motives. There'll be only use and abuse in the relationship. So, if possible, break all your ties with the narcissist. There's no intelligence in living with a narcissist. And especially when somebody is undergoing a Kundalini awakening or spiritual awakening, when the pranic force enters the central Sushumna channel, these people are influenced by the external events a lot. As such, the nervous system is under tremendous stress because of the spiritual activity that is happening in the body. And added to that, if you have a narcissist in your life, life can become hell. Spiritual progress will become hampered. And the narcissist will only pull you down to lower egoic states. So there's no good that comes from living with a narcissist or keeping a narcissist in your life. When somebody is moving from the lower states to the higher states, there are certain stages that they pass through. First thing is, at the first level, you disidentify with your physical body. That is your name, your family, your lineage, your status, your education, your job. All these things do not matter much now. What religion you belong to, what culture you belong to. You understand that these do not define you. You go beyond labels and identities. At the second stage, you understand that the inner voice that keeps on talking in your head is not your voice. You come out of your behavioral loops, your faulty beliefs, and you understand that many of them are caught up in these loops, and that is why they keep on creating that karmic loops in their life. And you try to educate others about these things. Third stage, you come to a level where you start disidentifying with the trauma, the pain, your fears, your memory. You understand it. All this comes from the identification with the limited being aspect. When you identify with that aspect, you are connected to all these things. At this level, you grow beyond the identity of being a limited being. At the fourth stage, you come out totally out of your memory. You healed all your trauma and pain. Your karma is totally cleared. Kundalini burns up the karmic baggage. You have more self awareness, you have more self control, and you have all these narcissists and everybody out of your life because you have healed yourself. The fifth stage, you identify as being a free soul. And at this stage, you open up like a child to the external reality, because now you no longer operate from fear, but rather you operate from universal law. There is a vast difference between how an enlightened person sees the external reality and how somebody with a personality disorder views the external reality. Somebody with a personality disorder thinks that the physical body is the only real thing and the external reality is the only real thing. They experience fear, pain, anger, frustration, impatience, carelessness, everything. And they think all these things are their reality. They operate from a level of fear, general mistrust. They have selfish motives, hidden agendas. They want to use and abuse. They see the external reality as bad. They see people as bad. And because the external reality is bad, people in generally are bad, they need to be competitive. And before others attack them, they should attack others. So they operate from a state of fear where they see others as competitors. They don't feel safe. They have insecurity issues, they have trust issues, they have fear issues, they have control issues. Because they see the external reality as the only reality, they need to control the external reality is very high. And the need to control their image and what others think is very high. This extreme need to control others and outside reality is what makes them abusive towards others. Whereas on the other end, you have the saints and enlightened beings. Their approach towards life and reality is totally different. They know that they exist beyond the physical body, and they know that they exist beyond this physical reality also. When you go to a movie theater, you see a projector there that is projecting the movie onto the screen. The movie appears on the screen because of this projector. If you turn the projector off, there is no movie on the screen. So the source for the movie is the projector. In the same way, we are the projectors of a reality. And the source for this projection comes from within us. Our fears, our karma, our pain, our vasanas, our sanskaras, everything that is there within us gets projected onto our life screen. We not only see our movie, we are also acting in the movie. And that is why this reality feels more than a dream. It feels totally real at one level. But once you start transcending your lower ego, you can realize that you're caught up in your own dream, or you're projecting your own dream and you're acting in that dream. So everything that you experience and see in this lifetime comes within you. It does not come from outside of you. When you understand this, there's nothing to fear. You live in acceptance because everything that comes is coming from within you, and you're just facing your own fears, your own traumas, your own pain, your samskaras, your vasanas, your karma, and nothing more than that. When you understand this, this is life changing. It frees your soul, and you're more focused on your spiritual development rather than what happens in the external world. There is no longer the need to control the external reality, because you know when you control your inner reality, you're automatically controlling the external reality. And you operate from this state of higher wisdom, and you're filled with love for everything, love and compassion for everything and everybody. That is why there is a vast difference in the way a person behaves when he is operating from fear and when he is operating from a place of universal love. People who operate from fears are the ones who do the most crimes in life. Whereas somebody who is operating from universal love will not even want to harm an insect. When a relationship with a narcissist comes to an end, it leaves the suffered party with a lot of emotional and physical trauma to deal with. A lot of bad memories, painful memories have to be processed. They may be financially broken because the narcissist has taken their freedom away, they did not let them work, or they just took away all their money. They were used and abused. Their self respect is gone. They feel violated, they feel stupid, they feel they've been cheated upon, betrayed. So all these hard emotions have to be processed by this person. Apart from this, there's a lot of external damage that happens, that is damage of reputation. People have turned against them. Now many of them think that they're a bad person because of the smear campaign that was done by the narcissist. They may have lost their job, their home, their friends, their family. They may be alone. So a narcissist, when they leave, they can leave the person in a very bad state. Some of them even lose their health and their trust in life and people thereafter. So this person needs a lot of healing. and even helping from close people to get their life on track and try to reach a normal state of living. When you are in a spiritual path, a narcissist can be an unnecessary distraction. They may come into your life for karmic reasons, but when you are able to identify that this person is a narcissist and the relationship is karmic in nature, when you get this wisdom, it simply means that you have reached a state in your spiritual evolution where you no longer need these kind of painful lessons to progress spiritually. So, the kind of people you need to stay away to be healthy in mind and body is the ones who are takers, who just come into your life to take from you but give you little to nothing in return. The ones who are high conflict in nature, who are always fighting, who are always hating others, and who do not like you. People who have no ethical or moral limitations, they indulge in all sort of wrong activities, right from accepting bribes to indulging in prostitution and other kinds of lower level activities. People who speak bad about you behind your back, and people who in general gossip about others. The ones who are constantly crying over life, who criticizing life, who criticize others unnecessarily, who look down upon others, uh, who are basically racial, they exploit others. Stay away from all such people. People who are liars, dishonest, who cheat, betray, they have bad financial habits. People who divert you from your spiritual path, who make fun of your spiritual path, and people who see you as a competitor. Stay away from all these people so that you can stay healthy in body, mind, and you can focus all your energies on your spiritual path. My intention in making these videos is not to brand somebody as good or somebody as bad. We have to go beyond the concept of good and bad when you're in the spiritual path. There's always bad mixed in good and good mixed in bad. Separate the behavior from the person. Don't see them as one thing. When you separate the behaviors from the person, you will not like the behaviors, but you will not hold any anger or resentment towards the person. Say, for example, you have a scorpion as your pet. You gave it all your love, all your affection. You took very good care of the scorpion. But in return, the scorpion stings you. It causes pain to you. That is its nature. It only knows to sting. It cannot do anything beyond that. So if we are holding any kind of anger or hatred for the scorpion, then it will only be foolishness. In the same way, if we are holding any kind of resentment towards the narcissist that ruined our life, it will only keep us trapped in the lower egoic states, because pain and anger, they keep you in lower egoic states. Understand that they are like the scorpion. They have a limited view of the world, they have limited ability to think, and they can only cause pain like the scorpion. Once you understand that, you will no longer harbor any anger for these uh, people with behavioral disorders. They do not have your ability to understand life or your ability to give to people and to life. Once you understand this, you can heal yourself from the narcissistic abuse or trauma. In my next video, I'll be talking about how a narcissistic mother can affect the life of her children. Thank you.